The first 28 days of semen retention are not random. They mark a biological and neurological threshold where the body stops operating in recovery mode and starts operating in accumulation mode. Before this point, most of your energy is spent repairing what was lost. After this point, energy begins to compound. This is when the transformation quietly begins. Semen is not just fluid, it carries minerals, enzymes, hormones, and life force energy. When you constantly release it, the body stays in a cycle of depletion. When you retain it for weeks, the body adapts. It learns that resources are no longer being wasted. That adaptation changes everything. Around the 28-day mark, dopamine sensitivity begins to normalize. The brain stops craving cheap stimulation and starts responding to purpose, effort, and challenge again. This is why men suddenly feel sharper, more disciplined, and more motivated without forcing themselves. Your nervous system also shifts. Instead of operating in scattered bursts of excitement and fatigue, it stabilizes. Stress tolerance increases. Emotional reactivity drops. You begin to respond rather than react, and people around you can sense that calm authority. Testosterone doesn't just spike briefly, its utilization improves. Your body starts using hormones more efficiently. This reflects in posture, voice depth, facial structure tension, and eye contact. The masculine signal becomes clearer, not louder. This is why many men report feeling heavier, grounded, and more present after 3 to 4 weeks. Not sluggish, anchored. Your energy stops leaking through compulsive thoughts, cravings, and mental noise. It consolidates inward. At this stage, the mind stops chasing validation. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. Silence becomes comfortable. Stillness becomes powerful. This is a key sign your seed has transformed from impulse into fuel. Biologically, the body begins reallocating retained nutrients toward the brain, skin, muscles, and nervous system. This is why men often notice clearer skin, brighter eyes, and a healthier facial glow after this phase. The body is no longer in survival mode. Psychologically, discipline starts to feel natural instead of forced. You wake up with direction. You move with intent. Even mundane actions feel purposeful because your internal reward system has reset. This is also when intuition sharpens. Your mind becomes quieter, allowing subtle signals to be noticed. Decision-making improves. You trust yourself more, not emotionally, but instinctively. Socially, people respond differently to you after this phase. Not because you changed your behavior consciously, but because your internal state changed. Humans read nervous system signals subconsciously. Stability attracts respect. This is why some people feel drawn to you, while others feel uneasy. Your presence becomes a mirror. Those aligned with discipline feel safe. Those addicted to chaos feel exposed. At 28 days, your seed is no longer just stored, it is circulating. It feeds your confidence, focus, and resilience. You feel less drained by life and more capable of carrying responsibility. This is the point where retention stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like power. You're no longer holding back, you're building forward. Many men quit just before this phase because the mind resists transformation. But those who pass it realize something important: the struggle was never about lust, it was about identity. After 28 days, you don't feel like a man trying to improve. You feel like a man returning to his original state, calm, alert, and self-contained. After 28 days, your internal chemistry begins favoring long-term reward over instant gratification. This shift rewires how you perceive effort itself. Work no longer feels like punishment, it feels like alignment. You begin to crave progress, structure, and forward motion, because your nervous system finally trusts that energy will not be wasted. This is also when your sense of time changes. Days feel fuller, not faster. You become more aware of moments instead of escaping them. This heightened presence is not spiritual fantasy, it is the result of reduced dopamine volatility and improved prefrontal control. Your mind regains leadership over impulse. Your body language transforms subtly but decisively. Movements slow down. Gestures become deliberate. You stop fidgeting, rushing, or over-explaining. These microsignals communicate inner certainty, and people instinctively respond with more respect, attention, and space. Around this phase, emotional regulation strengthens dramatically. Situations that once triggered frustration, anxiety, or insecurity no longer hijack you. The emotional charge weakens because the energy fueling reactivity has been conserved and redirected. You don't suppress emotions, you outgrow their control. This is why confrontation becomes easier without aggression. You can stand your ground calmly. Your voice stays steady. Your words carry weight. The retained seed fortifies your nervous system, allowing firmness without hostility, a rare masculine trait in modern society. Internally, a quiet confidence takes root. Not confidence based on outcomes, attention, or approval, but confidence based on self-trust. You know you can endure discomfort. You know you can delay pleasure. That knowledge alone reshapes your identity. At this stage, the mind begins pruning distractions automatically. You lose interest in meaningless conversations, shallow entertainment, and draining environments. This isn't arrogance, it's energetic intelligence. Your system now protects its resources. The retained seed also amplifies physical recovery. Sleep deepens. Muscle repair improves. The body repairs itself more efficiently because it is no longer constantly replacing what was lost. This is why strength, stamina, and vitality often rise together after this phase. Your creative capacity expands as well. Ideas flow more freely. Solutions appear faster. This happens because mental clutter fades, allowing intuition and logic to cooperate instead of compete. Creativity becomes structured, not chaotic. By this point, semen retention stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Discipline is no longer an act, it is your baseline. And once a man reaches this state, returning to depletion no longer feels tempting, it feels unnatural. As this transformation stabilizes, your identity begins to shift at a subconscious level. You no longer try to be disciplined, discipline expresses itself naturally through your choices. This is because your nervous system now associates restraint with strength, not deprivation. The brain learns that holding power feels better than releasing it carelessly. Your internal dialogue also changes. The constant mental noise weakens, replaced by clarity and decisiveness. You think fewer thoughts, but each thought carries more precision. This mental economy is a direct result of conserved neurological energy, less scattered stimulation, more focused cognition. At this stage, the body starts operating in a state closer to biological efficiency. Hormonal signals synchronize better. Stress hormones spike less frequently. Testosterone utilization improves, not necessarily through higher numbers, but through better receptor sensitivity. Your system uses what it has more intelligently. This is why physical presence becomes heavier, not in mass, but in gravity. When you enter a room, you don't need to announce yourself. People sense stability before you speak. This effect is subtle yet undeniable, driven by posture, stillness, and calm breathing patterns that signal dominance without aggression. You also notice a stronger internal compass forming. Decisions feel guided rather than debated. Intuition sharpens because the mind is no longer overstimulated or fragmented. When distractions fade, inner signals become louder and clearer. This phase strengthens patience, not passive waiting, but controlled endurance. You become comfortable delaying outcomes, trusting your process. This is rare in modern men, and it creates a psychological edge in business, relationships, and personal growth. Social dynamics shift noticeably. People interrupt you less. Conversations slow down around you. This happens because your energy no longer seeks validation, it commands attention through composure. Silence becomes one of your strongest tools. Your emotional depth also matures. You feel emotions fully but are no longer ruled by them. Instead of reacting, you observe. This emotional sovereignty allows you to respond with precision, choosing strength over impulse in every interaction. At this point, your lifestyle naturally reorganizes itself. Sleep improves without effort. Diet becomes cleaner without force. Training becomes consistent without motivation tricks. Alignment replaces struggle, because your internal state finally supports external discipline. This is where the retained seed completes its transformation, from biological substance into embodied power. What began as restraint evolves into authority. And once a man reaches this level, he no longer asks what retention gives him, he sees what depletion was taking away.